Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching the Technique of the Month from Digital Photo Magazine. On this month's cover CD, you'll find a magnifying glass template that'll allow you to create images just like this. Close-up images without a close-up lens. Now, let's start off right at the beginning. Let's revert back to the start and we'll have a look at the template. So this is the template as it comes in off the magazine. Now you've got to put an image in behind it. So I've got an image that I want to use. Let me just open it up on screen. Here we go. As you can see, it's an image of a small ladybird on some nice sort of green stinging nettles. Nice colours, but the ladybird, well, it's a little bit small in the frame. Well, perfect image for the magnifying glass technique. First things first, we've got to get this picture and pop it onto the template. And the easiest way to do that is go to Select, Select All, and then choose Edit and Copy. Now, that will copy the entire picture into the computer's memory, and we can shut this picture down. In fact, we don't need it any longer. But if we go back to Edit, we can choose Paste, and hey presto, it reappears. Now straight away you can start to see how this template's working. The theory is anything inside of the magnifying glass should be enlarged and everything else should be blurred out behind it. But we've got to do a little bit of work to make sure that happens. First of all, have a look at the position of the magnifying glass. Is it in the right place? For me, well, it's nearly right. I'd like to centre it up a bit better over the little ladybird. More importantly, though, I'd like to lose the end of the handle. I don't think I really need to see the end. I'm going to put that off the edge of the picture. Now, to make this happen, we need to use layers. So come up to Window and choose Layers if you can't already see them. And you'll find that you have 3 layers. At this point, it's really important that we're working on the middle layer. So let's click that to make it our highlighted, our active layer. And then we can come up to Image, Transform, and Free Transform. Now you can also use Control and T, which will get you to the same place. That brings up this little kind of bounding box around the edge of the picture. And there's a few things you can do here. First of all, you could shrink or grow the magnifying glass by dragging the corner handles, but for me the size is about right. What I'm going to do is just drag it around. See, I can reposition it anywhere I want. I'm just going to sort of centre it up roughly over the centre of the little ladybird there. Now another thing you can do is to spin this about. So if I bring my cursor just outside of the little box, my cursor changes to a curvy arrow, and now I can rotate my magnifying glass around. And we'll pop it probably somewhere like that and just centre it back up again. Now when you're completely happy, just click the little tick, and that'll make that transformation stick. Right, we're ready to start magnifying the inside of the magnifying glass. To do that, we need to make a selection. Grab yourself the magic wand tool and just click anywhere inside of the little magnifying glass, anywhere at all, it doesn't matter, that's perfect. So we now have a nice round selection that represents the inside of the magnifying glass, but we've got to change layers, otherwise the next step doesn't work. So, changing layers to your lower layer, which is the one called Your Photo, right there. And now coming up to Edit and Copy, and then Edit and Paste. So this will copy that selection and then paste it in as its own layer. And on the Layers palette, you can see it sits right there. Layer 1, that's the magnified image. But at the moment, it's not magnified, is it? I mean, it's exactly the same as it was before. It doesn't look any different. Well, let's make some differences now. Come back to Select and choose Reselect. Now this should bring back the selection as it was just a moment ago with that inner kind of circle there. Now up to Filter, down to Distort and Spherize. Now this is where the fun happens. Spherize is the bit that's going to magnify the inside of your magnifying glass. Now you've got a little slider down here that you can change the settings on. If you go for a minus number, everything gets smaller. But if you go for a positive number, everything gets bigger. And in fact, we're going to go for a massive positive. We're going to go all the way up to 100% maximum. And click OK. Now you can see our little ladybird gets a wee bit bigger. And it also gives a nice kind of distortion around the edge of the image. Now you could stop there. But if you apply the filter again, then your image in the middle will get bigger even more. So let's go back to Filter. And we'll choose Spherize once more. It's right at the top this time. You don't have to go hunting for it because it'll remember the last settings. And there you go. So we now have a much more enlarged little ladybird. Okay, so let's get rid of the selection. Select and deselect. It's done its job. And we're going to swap layers one last time onto the background layer, which is the layer called Your Photo. Up to Filter, choose Blur and Gaussian Blur. Now the Gaussian Blur is the bit that's going to take away the detail from the background. How much Gaussian Blur should you put in? Well, it's up to you really. That's probably a little too much, and that's probably a little too little. So I'm thinking probably around about 15 pixels, somewhere in that area. Not an exact science, but looking at that, that looks about right. And when it's about right, click OK. So there you are, that's pretty much your whole image completed. You've got that nicely magnified center section and a nicely blurred outer area. But there's one tip I can give you. Sometimes when you apply the distort filter, the spherize filter, a couple of times, it can soften the picture down. In that case, you just need to sharpen it up a little bit. So let's do that right now. Let's just click on the layer with that distorted part in, and we'll come up to Enhance and use Unsharp Mask, and we'll sharpen it up about 100%, but whatever it needs, click OK, and that'll just bring a little bit of clarity, a little bit more sharpness back into the center of your magnifying glass. Okay, so there you go. There's your completed template.